This is the Component 1 question book, and we're on to the question on planetary boundaries. Hopefully you know all about planetary boundaries and the definitions, and there are 9 of them, and we are looking at 2, the climate change one and the change in biosphere integrity. So straight 2 marks, straight away AO1 for what a planetary boundary is. So this is just a straight definition. You should get these. So there's a safe operating level for, the maximum, the threshold value for, human activity. So safe operating level. There's a few ways of saying this. For humanity, or limits that the processes will stay within. That'll do for 1, and then really telling us what will happen if we go above the value. Above the value, then we're going to get problems. So global processes will not be stable. Below the value, then these processes will be stable. So above the value, global process is not stable, and we could get kind of irreversible damage. Could have irreversible damage. Calculate the percentage. So hopefully you are experts at calculating percentages, and exceeds the boundary and 1 decimal place. Show you're working in full. So percentage increase, so your percentage change is always the change divided by the start value times by 100. So what's the change? We got 350 to 396.5, so 396.5 minus 350. What's our start value? Start 350. We're going to times that by 100. I'm going to do this step by step. 396.5 minus 350. 46.5. So 46.5. divided by 350 times by 100. Now I can do all of that. So divide by 350 times by 100 equals 13.28571. I'm going to lose a mark if I put that as my percentage though, because we need to be 1 decimal point. So 1 decimal point is the 2 there, but it needs to go up by 1 because it's an 8 after it. So that will be 13.3%. Explain how deforestation can directly affect the planetary boundary for climate change. Well, climate change is all about, so you're going to use this information, it's all about atmospheric CO2. So the processes that affect the amount of CO2, or the concentration of CO2. That's going to be photosynthesis and respiration that spring to mind. And then if we've got deforestation, well, that's cutting down trees. So cutting down trees, less photosynthesis, and then less CO2 is going to get fixed and taken out of the atmosphere. So where do we start with that? Deforestation reduces CO2 uptake by trees in photosynthesis in the Calvin cycle. So that's deforestation. There's three points that we have to make. And what do they usually do with the trees once they've cut them down? Well, you might have heard of slash and burn, which is cutting down trees and then just setting fire to them and then growing stuff on the land. So there's a problem there because that's combustion, which is putting carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. So burning of felled trees puts CO2 back into the atmosphere. We could come up with another suggestion in the middle there, because they were transporting them used as fossil fuels. Processing the trees, that's going to use fossil fuels as well, but the big one is burning them. And then we need another mark there. Well, the bits of trees that are left just decay away, and that will be respiration. That's used by microbes and so on, by decomposing those. So decay of waste tree material. So difficult third point there, but think about all of these are in your carbon cycle that you've studied. Using your knowledge of natural selection, so I know I'm going to have to get me notes and put those on the page somehow. Explain why more species have become extinct compared to pre-industrial times. So more species have become extinct. Right, this is a toughie really. So the environment's changing. The environment's changing more, and some species are not going to be adapted anymore and be selected against. So in a changing environment, some species are now not adapted. They might be selected against, so using the words that you've used in your natural selection argument. This changing is quite rapid, and so lots of species can't actually adapt to this new environment in such a small time period. Animals can't move, seeds disperse, so there's problems. For example, you might rely on mutations to give different genotypes and phenotypes with adaptations. That can't happen in this time scale. So cannot adapt or evolve in such a small time scale. Oh, what was there? An insect crawling across the page. It's adapting to the papery conditions. For example, slow mutation rates. I like that one. E.g., slow mutation rates. But time for seeds to disperse, animals to move, and so on. And then let me avoid my little green friend. Is that an aphid? It could be an aphid. We know a lot about aphids, don't we? It's off. And And what's causing this environmental change? Increased human population, industry, pollution. So increased population, pollution is causing the environmental change. So that last point is comparing it to pre-industrial times where change was very, very slow, and you can say this is very rapid, which is a problem. So tough 3 marks there, tough 3 marks. And the last question, you think, 4 marks. These are the ones that you can lose marks on, because just on this page you've got 2 3s and a 4. It's almost it's bigger than an essay. The marks you get in an essay. Suggest how biodiversity loss may be delayed using conservation methods. But this is okay. This is now just bang bang bang. Give us some conservation methods. So this is okay. So lots of things you can say here. You could say seed banks, all sorts of suggestions. Seed banks, breeding programs, fishing quotas, and anything along those fishy examples like mesh size exclusion zones and so on. Mesh size, lots of things you could say there. Trade restrictions, particularly things like ivory from elephants, rhinos' horns, and things that you can't trade into to try and maintain biodiversity. Management of wild populations, restricting habitat. There's lots of this. So management of wild populations, so making sure that there's enough of them. Restricting habitat destruction or pollution. So keeping those habitats, and any number of legislation, SSSIs, sites of special scientific interest, national parks, where you can't build new houses on them and things like that, national parks, and lots of other examples there. So you just need any 4 of those. So nice ending 4 marks, but difficult ones before them.